Hello there, my name is Bins and I welcome you to this shapes.io video. For those who ended up on this video because they are subscribed to my channel and were expecting a video about the eyeless language, I apologize because this is not one of those videos. Now, there is a small chance that if you like the eyeless language, you might in fact also enjoy this little indie game, shapes.io, just the way I do. Because shapes.io is all about, getting shapes, source shapes, and then cutting them apart, reassembling them, painting them, stacking them on top of each other until you create a completely new shape. And you're going to output that to the hub, which is what we're looking at right now. And enthusiasts of the eyeless language, you might understand that eyeless, in a way, is a linguistic equivalent of this game, even though this game is just, about factories and belts and, shapes, hence the name. Now, this video is going to just assume that you are not new to shapes.io, because if you clicked on it, if you're not a subscribed member to my channel, then you probably clicked on it because of the title. And in this video, I'm going to try to show off my automated factory, which is going to analyze the shapes that the hub requires and create them by running the shapes automatically through my machines and outputting them again. Now, this is a world record attempt of sorts because I am trying to create the fastest automatic shape maker out there. Right? I have watched plenty of tutorials, and most people I saw were able to create a machine like this that would output the requested shape in roughly 5 to 10 minutes, right? I managed to compress that to roughly, depending on the exact shape and the preceding shape, etc., roughly between a minute and 2 minutes. So that is my record attempt. If you are watching this, I suppose that you know what I am talking about. So I have concluded the game actually, and at level 27 you get into free play mode, at which time it will become, you have firstly unlocked all the upgrades, all the bits and pieces, all the machinery that you could get, including the wires layer and the logics layer. And you basically go into free play mode, where the only purpose of the game basically is create an automated machine, because otherwise, you won't be having a lot of fun. So those people watching, let's first of all, I want to add a little disclaimer that hopefully this video will make me look like an extremely smart person, but actually I have drawn a lot of inspiration from other players, right? I've watched a lot of tutorials online myself by other players about how to efficiently create these machines, because I myself am simply not smart enough. So I want to give a few shout outs. Let's have a look at some of the things I drew inspiration from. The first one is YouTuber Joe Mama 1973. If that's you, shout out to you, because from you I basically shamelessly copied this part in your video where you talk about car engines and stuff. And even though I'm not a mechanic, it did make sense, because most automatic stacking modules that I found were like your top example right here, where you create a backlog and then you switch over to this I forgot what you called it, but tuned exhaust, something like that, something with pressure. I don't really get it, so I just copied this, made it my own version a little bit, and I wanted to let you know that I didn't invent this myself. Then another thing I shamelessly took off the internet is of this thread by Jojo. If that's you, huge shout out to you. And that is the problem that if you have a signal on your wires layer that has a null signal, right? Like it doesn't get a signal input, then there is still a way to create a zero output, because in shapes.io, having a lack of signal input is not the same as having a zero input. And in my machine, I am working with a bunch of trash cans right here. And the problem is that if your filter doesn't get a signal at all, then it will not trash the shapes, right? It will simply jam, and your shapes get stacked, and they will build up and create a backlog. So we need this. This is another design I took inspiration from. If that's your design, a huge shout out. So these designs are created to turn a null signal, a lack of signal, into a zero signal, and as we will see, I make plenty of use of those. And then finally, I watched the video by Varanogar. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm sorry if I don't. But basically, he shows off in his video his automatic shape creator. And sorry, don't mean to insult you, but I took this video as a challenge because I looked at this machine and basically thought, I'm going to try to do better than this, right? Your machine takes about 5 minutes to create a new shape, and I wanted to see if I could do better, and I think I've managed, right? So let's get into it. Here is my game. This is a shape I have invented, just put together, and I have 4 machines outputting that. So let's have a look at how they work. So any advanced shapes.io player knows that a shape can consist of 16 parts, which is 4 layers, and every layer can consist of 4 quadrants. Not necessarily, but they can, right? So basically what I have here is I have 16 inputs, and they're just gonna run through layers. So on the first layer, 2 quadrants are going to be put together to create half a layer. Then 2 half layers are going to be stacked to 1 layer. That runs into the next level, where 2 layers are going to be stacked to create, a shape with 2 layers. And then it's going to take layers 1 and 2 and layers 3 and 4 respectively, and it's going to turn that into my ultimate shape, right? Now the input above all these things, here I have a painting module. So I have an array of 16 painting modules, and I worked with the double painter because that's the fastest, I believe. It's the fastest module I found to create a full belt as quickly as possible. So this has, paint or dye coming in from one side, and it has the shape coming in from the other side. Now, on top of my painting modules, I have the shape selector modules, which is going to output a full belt of a quadrant of any of the 4 available shapes immediately. So I have a massive belt, 4 shapes each, to run my 16 painters. Because of the way this works, because of the cutter, it means you can connect 4 cutters to one belt. And since we have 16 shapes, it means we only need 4 belts of each shape. And then, you know, in order to finagle these shapes, in order to get them across, I worked with a tunneling system. In case you're not familiar with that, you can basically get 2 shapes onto one line by tunneling them alternately, like you can see here. However, I suppose if you're already here, if you're already at level 27, I guess you know this, right? So through a complex wiring mechanic of splitting off shapes and whatnot, I basically have the ability to output a full belt of any quadrant pretty much instantly, right? This will take about a second or less. And then finally, I have the coloring array. So what I did was create a elaborate painting machine, which basically just gives me a belt of every color 16 times, right? So that's basically what that is. So through a filtering mechanism, it's basically just going to analyze the shape, and it's going to put one of these filters, it's going to open up one of these filters. In this case, it's going to be a yellow filter, and in other cases, here is the red filter that's open, and the rest is shut off, right? And that's how that works. So, and then to produce these belts, I basically just have a elaborate painting line where I have, you know, all these basic colors coming in. And then this just moves to the top. So I start off with a massive belt. I want to give you a little epilepsy warning for those people who are sensitive. So if you move through these layers, you can see that I have 16 belts of blue, 16 belts of green, 16 belts of red, followed by another 16 belts of blue, 16 belts of green, 16 belts of red. So that's 32 belts of every of the base color. And they just move through here, and then they move through this intricate system in order to get the right dyes, the right paints onto the correct lanes, right? And all of this comes from a massive supplying hub. You know, here it is. So here I have all these colors at the ready to be, you know, output at any given time. So, and then here I just have a what I call a shape hub and a color hub. Yeah, I'm a nerd. I'm a dork. I enjoy spelling these things wrong on purpose. So this is my northeast color hub, and it just assembles the color right here. It's going to do that twice, and it's going to output one massive array of belts to the eastern machine, and the other one to the northern machine, right? And then I also have the shape hub, and it does the same thing, but for the shapes rather than the paints or dyes. This part was a lot easier because, as you can tell, you only need 4 belts of each shape, whereas for the dyes, you're going to need 32 belts per machine, right? So, and that's how that works. That's the physical layer. And by the way, for those who are wondering, these machines are called the Plus, and that stands for the Productor of Lightning Speed Ultra Shapes, right? And then we have the North, we have the East, we have the South, and then we have the West. Right, so what else is there? That's Unfortunately enough, the physical layer is the easiest part. Those of you who have been playing Shapes.io, apart from, I think, level 18, when it's unlocked, you get to the wires layer, and boy, that's a lot more complex, actually, than the physical layer. Right, so here we go. I currently have this constant signal here is outputting the desired shape. So if I take some other shape, let's see, I have a bunch of codes here. I like this one. This is a shape I cooked up, or just a random shape, but I think it looks good. So here is the target shape, here is the current shape, and I made a little, like a traffic light. If there is no shapes moving around, then it will turn to red. If we have movement, then it will turn to orange, and as soon as we get the correct shape, it will turn to green. Right? So let's get back to the wires layer. So the output is here, right? This is the desired layer, and further up in the video, I'm going to remove this, and I'm just going to connect that directly to the shape that the hub actually requires. Right, so this moves up all the way, right? This is like the outer lane. This moves up all the way to the top. Right, here is the full shape. It's the one we want. Moves all the way to the top into first the filter coloring module, the color filter module. Sorry, that's what I wanted to say. So that basically it unstacks the shape. I assume you are familiar with the unstacker, and then for every quadrant it's going to analyze the shape, and in this case it's just going to say like, okay, the filter that we need to activate is the red filter, and all of the other filters will have to remain shut. So I rotate the shape so that the correct quadrant moves through the analyzer, and that way I am able to supply these signals to all of the filters. Right? So that's the top layer. That's the way I let the paint pass, the dye pass, and the same thing happens a level below that, but here it works for the shapes. So again, it's going to analyze every quadrant of every layer through unstackers, analyzers, shape rotators, etc. And it's going to say for every quadrant, in this case, the belt that needs to open is the circle belt, right? And the other ones will remain shut off, and it's going to do that 16 times side by side, once for every quadrant of every layer as well. Right? That's the easy part. Now we're going to get to the hard part, and I'm not sure that I will actually be able to explain this all the way. But what we have going on here is a mechanism that is basically going to trash the shapes as quickly and efficiently as possible if the machine finds out that whatever we have coming through as input does not match what we want. Because the problem with the machines that I watched, and the problem with the machines that I cooked up before this one, is actually clearing out your machines when you have a change of shape. That's the hardest part, right? Because your machines are going to have a backup sooner or later. You know, you see this here. You don't have a full throughput. So as soon as there is a change of shape, you're going to need to get rid of these red circle quadrants, right? These quarter circles. And that is what makes the machines slow. So the hardest part of this machine was getting these all of these filters connected through the wiring layer in order to make them trash the shapes that we don't want as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So I'm going to try to explain how it works. Forgive me if this is not fully clear, because truth be told, it is quite confusing. If you look at the wires layer, there's a bunch of stuff going on. And a part of the reason that this setup is rather complex is because if we don't have an input, then the shapes also need to be trashed. You know, this is what I said before, that if you don't have an input, you get a null signal, and a null signal won't actually be the same as a zero signal, and it won't trash the shapes. And I am certain that if you have, you know, played around with creating your own machines, that you have run into this problem. I dare to bet money on it almost. So basically what we have going on is we have 16 splits again of our ultimate shape. It's going to analyze the correct quadrants, and it's basically going to try and match this reader. It's going to check, is the red that's coming through here, does it match the shape that we want? If not, it's going to output 0, and through a intricate circuit of wires, it's basically going to trash all the shapes. It's going to trash the final shape here, it's going to trash the die here, and it's going to trash the source shape here, if not. And then I have another thing right here, which is if we have a gray shape going on. Let me just have a look. If we have a gray shape going on, then it will have to come through, right? Because if you don't, this is kind of a bypass filter, and if it's closed, it means that we're going to have paint, we're going to have dye, and we're going to need to use the painters. If this is open, then it means we don't have paint, and the shapes that we'll want are in fact gray. So then it's going to output this. And the way this works is basically if we don't have paint, then this will open. And if we do have paint, then this will close, and it's going to stop the shapes, and it's going to force the shapes into the painting array. Otherwise, it will bypass the painters, and it will move directly into the stacker array. Right, so that's basically that. And from there on out, we have that going on 16 times. And then we have the wiring that comes with the stackers. And what this does basically is it's going to compare whether we have and whether we need input on both sides of the stacker, right? So if we don't have an input on both sides of the stacker, then this is going to put in motion an entire system whereby these shapes will move onto a bypass lane instead. I'm not sure if this is going to work if I simply shut this off. No, it won't. We need a different shape, don't we? Right? Let's see if we have an example. Do we have? Yeah, we have an example right here. So in this case, we don't actually need the top right quadrant. Excuse me. So it's just going to jam this, and it's going to move these shapes onto a bypass lane that I ran through the middle here, and it's going to bypass all of the stacking machines. Right? That's what it's all about. Now, as you can see, I have trash filters before every stacker, right? Because I noticed that the most difficult part of all of this is actually situated right here. If you have a build-up here and you have a new shape coming in, then these shapes will still have to get through the stacker. You know, it will have to flush these, it will have to create these shapes, stack these shapes, and they're going to be output. So the longer the backup you have here, the more time, the longer it's going to take for you to start outputting the correct shape whenever you have a change of shape, right? So this is why I had a trash filter before every stacker, right? And I found that this is actually the key. At first I had a design that was a lot slimmer, but the problem was that that this line, for example, was further away from the trash filter. So the distance between the trash filter and the actual stacker was not the same amount of belt parts for left and right. And that caused my machine to become a lot slower. I was stuck at 2 minutes 30, 2 minutes and a half for creating a new shape. And I discovered that if you make these lengths identical, then you're going to be able to flush your system a lot bigger. So as soon as we change a shape, we're still going to have a shape that contains these quarters, these red quarters, right? Which we won't need. So we're going to have superfluous shapes either way, right? So the key is to reduce this to an absolute minimum. The more shapes you can flush out, the quicker your machine is going to be. So let's have a look. Let's go back to the hub and let's create a new shape, some random shape. Let's see, what do I have here? Let's take this one. I don't even know what it looks like anymore. But as soon as I change this, we're going to see that these shapes are actually deleted, right? They don't move through anymore. They move directly to the filter. And all that we're left with now to flush out are these three shapes, right? So, and that is what makes the machine pretty fast. So let's have a look at how this works. Right, we have the new shapes already moving through into our stackers. Yeah, there they come. There we go. And I have another filter deleter here. It checks the shape. If it's not the one we want, this is the one we want, and it's going to only let this through if it is the shape that we want. There we go. That is not the correct shape yet. That is the correct shape. Yeah, we have movement. And now we have 4 incoming belts that will be able to move up to 20 pieces per second. Another thing I wanted to say that was that I am at tier 35, which is extremely high for being only at level 27. Now the thing is, I spent so much time trying to figure out these machines, and in the meantime I just let my upgrade figures, you know, the shapes that I need for upgrades, I just let them run. And that way I was able to upgrade to tier 35, and tier 35 is capable of producing a 20 shapes per second worth of... Now that sentence doesn't make sense, but you understand what I'm saying. Right, so this is basically it. Let's get in a stopwatch right here, and then let's do a final test shape before we start recording. Let's get some random shape that I like. I like this shape. Sorry, there we go. Let's get the timer there as well. And let's see how long it takes for my shape to get produced. Here is my timer. Sorry, let's get the timer back. There you go. And let's see how long it takes to produce this, this windmill kind of shape. Now there is a minor delay, obviously, because I inserted the shape, then moved over to this button, so maybe there's like a second delay. We're going to have to add like a second or so. But let's just see what happens. See how long this takes. I have the new shape slowly moving through my stacking modules right here. Well, if you happen to hear my neighbors over here, I do apologize because I live in a small apartment, and yeah, sometimes you get some noise. I don't know if that will move through to the video, but if it does, I do apologize. Now I am noticing something. That this is taking a lot more time than what I had during testing before, and I am afraid that has to do with the limitations of my computer that I'm using. Because before, actually, it did take between a minute and 2 minutes to get a new shape created from scratch. There we go. Yeah, let's stop that here. So I have 2 minutes and a half. Now, I am afraid, because I am recording this video, that I have actually bumped into the capacity limit of my computer, and that might be why it's taking 2 minutes and a half roughly to output the new shape. So this is just going to have to be the way it is, right? So what I am going to do now is I'm going to reset this timer. I'm going to hook this up, and then we're going to see what happens, right? Let's move it this way. I'm going to keep the timer on screen because I don't know yet. I might speed up the video later, put some music on it, I don't know yet. But then you have the timer to show you that I am not actually cheating or anything, right? So this is an exciting time. I actually have not tested this, right? This is the first time I am recording. We are at level 27, and let's see how high we can get in which amount of time. So as soon as I insert this piece of wire, my machines will start running. We're going to start the clock. We're going to put on some music, and we're going to look at the results. Have fun. Here we go. So here we are. After 2 hours and roughly 15 minutes, I am going to try to... I'm going to get ready to hit the pause button on the timer. I will stop the timer as soon as the 77th level is complete, because that would mark 50 levels after, 27. And then we're going to have a calculation. That's why I prepared this. I'm going to quickly calculate on average how long it took to create the new shape. Now, I must say that I am not happy with this result. I wish to insist that this is indeed a performance issue. If you pay attention to the belt readers, right, how slow they are to respond, also how long it takes the hub to register that the correct shape has been inputting for a while, and the target is reached. Sometimes this takes up to 10 seconds, and multiply that by 50 and you get a lot of time that's being added towards what I was hoping would be a valid world record attempt. So as soon as the 77th level is complete, I'm going to stop the timer, I'm going to calculate this, and then I'm not sure yet, but I think I might try it again and reduce all the possible, performance eating settings in shapes.io. And, also I have a secondary monitor attached. I have both high definition video and audio recording going on. And frankly, I am just afraid that the limit of my modest equipment is being reached. So I might try this again. I might, simply record the screen, maybe not on my big secondary monitor, but just on my primary monitor. Maybe that speeds things up, and we'll see if this if this is faster than what we have currently going on, because as I said, I am pretty sure that my machine is actually faster than the recording we have going on at the moment. Now, well, the dumb thing is that I cannot simply skip forward, and I can't simply prove that that's the case. So, by me just telling you that's not valid as a potential world record contender, obviously I have to record this. I have to have the video as a testimony that my machine is actually faster than what you're seeing, because you can't just take my word for it, obviously, right? So let's wait until the shape of level 77 has come through, and then we're going to quickly calculate this, and then I'm going to reduce all the settings, maybe try a new recording. I don't know yet if that will be a separate video or not. I guess you will be able to tell by the length of the video you're watching. So I'm gonna do all of these things, and then we're going to see. If you look at the belts, you can also see that we have, hiccups. Sometimes they just stop. And if this happens, even if it's only a fraction of a second, if you multiply that by the amount of levels we're going to need to go up, then, a lot of time is added quickly. And, as I said, during testing, my new shapes rolled into the hub about a minute, between 1 minute and 2 minutes after the previous level was reached. That was according to my testing. So let's just wait until this is registered, and then we're gonna pause the timer. All right, there we go. So let's pause the timer here. We stopped at 2 hours, 18 minutes and 36 seconds. And as I said, I pulled up this little calculator I found online. So let's just, let's make it 2 hours and 19 minutes. And we're gonna divide that by 50 because that's the amount of levels we advanced. Calculate that. Oh no, not multiply, division of course. Right, so that is 2 minutes and 46 seconds on average to create a new shape. And I know my machine is faster than this, so I'm gonna wrap it up here, and then I'm going to get a new attempt, because the good thing is that I actually stopped auto save. So this is not saved. As soon as I stop Shapes.io and I reboot it, we're going to be at level 27 again. Right, so let's see how that goes, and, you know, see you in a bit. So here we are again, back at level 27, with the same game and exactly the same factory I showed before. The only difference is that now, as I said, I cut back on the visuals in order to enhance performance. I reduced the game's tick speed to 30, and enabled the option in the menu that won't show shapes sliding along the belts unless you hover your mouse directly over them, etc. You know, the settings that say this looks ugly and you should only use this setting if you really need the performance. And well, I needed the performance, so disabled my secondary monitor, didn't record the sound live, but afterwards, and lo and behold, it seems to have been a performance issue with my computer after all. The factory is a lot faster now. So let's run a small test before we start. Just some random shape I'm inventing on the spot. Hit the timer and go. Let's see how long it takes this time. And there, we're clocking in at around 1 minute and 10 seconds. I told you that my factory was faster than before. I just didn't manage to show it yet. So now then, let's remove the constant signal next to the hub and connect up the wiring. In fact, what I decided to do is start the timer preemptively and build the blue wiring piece in when the timer hits exactly 1 minute. That way, I won't lose time by moving my mouse from the game over to the stopwatch, and the measurement will be a lot more accurate. Afterwards, we'll deduct this 1 minute from the clock, and we get our final result. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and we're off. And that's level 27 done at little over 2 minutes on the clock. Since my voice recording is now a voice over, contrary to before when I was speaking live during recording, I actually already know the outcome, and what can I say, the shapes will be generated at almost double speed compared to before. Not quite, but almost twice as fast. So I'm going to speed up the video now, but I'll leave the timer running visibly for reference. Enjoy the ride. So here we are, over 2 hours later. Had dinner in the meantime and took a shower, because what else are you gonna do? So we're currently at level 126, and that's the last one we'll do. At level 127, we will have 100 levels behind us, and as soon as we reach that, I'm stopping the timer. Just waiting for that last shape to come in. And whoop, there it is. 2 hours, 32 minutes and 44 seconds. This time I am going to save my game. So let's get back that time calculator I had before and let's have a look. Go home, German language, you're drunk. So let's see now. Two hours, 32 minutes, 44 seconds, divided by 100 is 1 minute and 31.64 seconds. Oh, hold on, I'd almost forget. We can still deduct that minute we preemptively counted. So 2 hours, 31 minutes and 44 seconds gives us 1 minute and 34.04 seconds on average to clear a level. Now, I don't know how world records work on the internet exactly, but, I think I'm just going to claim it here and now. I am curious to see whether anyone can improve on this. I'm not saying it's impossible, but honestly, I do feel like I pretty much ran the game to the limit of what it can do. After a certain tier, any additional speed upgrade you do seems to be negligible. My belts seem to have hit the ceiling at 20 items per second, and even though I upgraded the different units various times, my belt capacity never went over 20. So I think any improvement on this factory would have to come from optimizing the physical machines, maybe trashing the undesirable shapes and dies can be improved upon. Maybe the machines can be built more space efficiently as to reduce the distance the shapes have to travel before they reach the hub. I don't know. I'm happy with the result. Coming in at 2 hours, 31 minutes and 44 seconds with an average of 1 minute and 31 seconds to clear a level, I'd say I'm pretty satisfied with that. So there you have it, my world record claim for the fastest automated factory, levels 27 to 127 for shapes.io. Oh, and before I forget, if you saw anything in this video that you liked, some kind of module or setup or machine array or wiring array or whatever, please feel free to pause the video and just copy any design for your own purposes, for your own machines. It would be a bit hypocritical of me to claim any kind of, design copyright or whatever on this factory, given that, as I said, I too took inspiration from plenty of others to create my own mega machine. You can even drop a comment if you'd like to take a closer look at given components of this factory. Maybe I didn't explain the wiring layer in enough detail or something. I don't know. Anyway, time to wrap up the video, I guess. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.